You think you know the game, but what happens when the power behind the curtain gets exposed? This is not just about music, it's about control manipulation and the darkness that thrives in silence. The courtroom was filled with attention so thick you could almost feel it in the air. It wasn't just any trial. It wasn't just any case. It was the trial that could shake the very foundations of the music industry, where secrets that were meant to stay buried were about to come to light. And the man at the heart of it all, 50 Cent. Known for his sharp tongue and fearless demeanor, 50 Cent had made a name for himself over the years as the kind of person who didn't back down from confrontation. But no one had ever expected that he would take his online banter, his bold memes, his pointed accusations, and turn them into something so much bigger, something that would echo through the halls of justice. For years, 50 Cent had hinted at something deeper beneath the surface of Diddy's world, a world that many knew about but no one dared to speak of. Cryptic jabs, Instagram posts, and interviews filled with hidden meaning had long suggested that Diddy's empire wasn't as pristine as it seemed. But when 50 Cent took the stand in federal court, things changed. What he said wasn't just bold, it was shocking, it was revealing, and it was for the record. Under oath, 50 Cent didn't just make accusations. He provided names, he provided receipts, and most surprisingly, he laid bare an industry's worst-kept secret. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the music mogul's carefully cultivated image began to crack. No one expected this. The courtroom fell silent as 50 Cent took the stand, his reputation for stirring controversy preceding him. For years, he'd been calling out Diddy from the outside, his jabs often hidden in memes or offhand comments. But this time, there was no escape. This time, 50 wasn't joking. He wasn't just stirring the pot for social media likes. This time, he was under oath, and the stakes were higher than ever. 50 Cent didn't just talk about Diddy's shady behavior. He brought evidence. The courtroom was on edge as he read from a list that included names, events, and encounters. These weren't just rumors. These were stories that 50 had witnessed firsthand or heard about from people close to Diddy's world, and they painted a picture of a man who used his power and influence in ways no one ever dared to discuss publicly. It wasn't just about the accusations anymore. This was about the way Diddy allegedly controlled the industry, the way he allegedly manipulated those around him. And 50 Cent wasn't backing down. He was done with the whispers. Now he was ready to expose it all. 50 Cent's relationship with Diddy hadn't started in a courtroom. It had started in public, on social media, in interviews, and behind the scenes at industry events. For years, 50 had dropped hints about Diddy's private life. His jabs at Diddy weren't just trolling, they were pointed, calculated, and meant to get attention. In 2014, 50 Cent posted a meme insinuating that Diddy and Rick Ross had a much closer relationship than the public realized. The post made waves, but many dismissed it as just another one of 50's stunts. But the memes didn't stop there. In 2018 on The Breakfast Club, 50 spoke up again, this time recounting an incident that gave him suspect vibes. He recalled how Diddy had invited him to go shopping, saying, "I'll pay for it." In the interview, 50 couldn't help but question what kind of grown man invites another grown man to go shopping and then offers to pay for it. The insinuation was clear, it wasn't about shopping, it was about something else. And the deeper he dug, the more disturbing things got. As the years passed and lawsuits against Diddy started to pile up, 50 Cent's tone shifted. What had once seemed like playful trolling now appeared more like a warning. In 2022, when multiple accusers came forward, 50 Cent's social media posts went from casual jokes to serious revelations. He wasn't just throwing shade anymore, he was stating facts, or at least what he believed to be facts. When he took the stand, the world finally saw that 50 Cent's accusations weren't just off-the-cuff comments. They were based on things he had seen and experienced in the industry. The prosecution had called him as a surprise witness to shed light on Diddy's personal life, and what 50 revealed was nothing short of shocking. And then came the list. 50 Cent started naming names. He didn't stop at Diddy. He talked about others, artists, collaborators, and victims. He started with someone that many had already suspected, rapper Fabulous. 50 recalled a moment during a Drink Champs interview when Diddy kept asking Fabulous why they never partied together. Fabulous laughed nervously, but 50 saw something else, fear. Behind the camera, Fabulous was uncomfortable. He didn't want to be there. 50 Cent wasn't just recounting stories. He was giving the jury a clear picture of what he'd witnessed. He spoke about a private event where Diddy allegedly cornered Fabulous making another advance. According to 50, Fabulous tried to leave, but was pressured by Diddy to stay, eventually sneaking out the back door. The courtroom was silent as 50 Cent described a world where silence was the currency. He wasn't just exposing what he knew, he was revealing the system that protected Diddy's behavior. People were afraid to speak out, and they had good reason to be. NDAs were common, and those who dared to speak up risked losing everything. 50 Cent recounted warning younger rappers to avoid Diddy, to stay away from his house, and to never accept gifts or invitations to late-night parties. These parties, according to 50, were where things went dark. As the testimony went on, 50 Cent continued to name names. He talked about other artists, Ja Rule, YK Osiris, and how they too had been lured into Diddy's world with promises of fame and fortune, only to find themselves trapped in a cycle of control and manipulation. 50 described the pattern that Diddy used: find young, impressionable talent, promise them the world, and then control them with gifts, experiences, and power. Once they were in, Diddy allegedly used fear and manipulation to keep them in line. When 50 Cent finished his testimony, the courtroom was left in stunned silence. The revelations had been explosive, but they were just the beginning. The fallout was immediate. Celebrities who had once associated with Diddy now distanced themselves. Lawyers began preparing for the worst. The silence that had protected Diddy for so long was beginning to crack. The headlines were immediate: 50 Cent names in Diddy trial, the industry's darkest secrets exposed. But it wasn't just about the headlines. Behind the scenes, the music industry began to react. PR teams went into overdrive. Endorsement deals were put on hold. Celebrities began deleting social media posts, erasing any trace of their connections to Diddy. This wasn't just a courtroom drama. This was the beginning of something bigger, something that could change the way the public viewed the music industry forever. As 50 Cent's testimony echoed through the media, one thing became clear: the silence was over. The powerful figures who had controlled the narrative for so long were no longer untouchable. And for the first time, it seemed like the game was starting to change. 50 Cent had opened Pandora's box, and the world was watching closely to see what would come out next.
What's happening with Puffy? I know you're not really tapped in, but what
the last thing I saw was like a guy there. He was like, yo, he like pushed me into the truck. It really hurt. And he sounded me. Like he sounded me. I was like, yo, look, I could find other things to do for money. Did you see the video? I could find other things to do for money. But I'm not sure I can say that for money. Like somebody pushed me into a truck.
How much is this guy trying to get?
I don't know. Like it's a simple suit situation, but it's like
20 mil. I can say it.
You still have to black his face out.
Yes.
You still have to mimic his voice because he's like,
but his
damn.
voice wasn't even that different.
And a little deeper. I was like, almost like, no, that's you, young buck.
Yo,
I almost felt like it was him. I almost knew who it was. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, that's Buck. You trying to get money, man.
Yo, you can't say that dudes are having sex with other dudes, bro. The internet might come for you.
Yeah, you say
sweet love. Yeah, you gotta say make sweet love.
That's young buck breaking right there.
Make sweet love.
There's rules to rap beef now, bro.
Not
in your day.
Well, I'm saying, like, God, man,
good.
why is your homeboy so close to you when you come out of that? Look like you guys just made sweet love. I'm gonna say sweet love instead of anything that says.
To me, that's better because they're gonna try to make it something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was smart. Like I didn't think about that. I say things to the borderline, like I'm like, oh my God, you're in trouble.
You?
Like all the time. Because I just say.
Nah, but you got close when he offered to take you shopping.
Yeah, you see, Meek is in the same shirt. He's out there in the same shirt. This is not Photoshop.
Shit.
This is really happening. I'm just saying to you. No, stop. Stop it, man. You set that up. Look, you set that up. He's in the same shirt.
What do you mean he's in the same shirt?
Obviously was not offended by what I was offended by. This is what I'm saying, bro. Like you go, I'm like, nah, it was odd. Like,